Ladies and gentlemen, you talk to yourself more than you talk to anyone else. All day long, there's a voice in your head narrating your life, judging how you look, how you feel, whether you're good enough. And here's the terrifying truth. You don't even realize it's happening. It's background noise, but it's the most powerful force shaping your destiny. Why? Because the voice you hear most is your own. That internal dialogue becomes your identity, your actions, your life. Let me tell you something science has proven. Your brain doesn't argue with you. It doesn't stop you when you whisper, "I'm a failure." It just believes you. It wires that thought in deeper every time you repeat it. So if you wake up and think, "I look awful," your brain makes it true. If you mess up and say, "I'm an idiot," your confidence crumbles. This isn't just negativity, it's self-hypnosis. But here's the game changer. You can rewire your brain in just 3 days. Imagine this, for 72 hours, every time you catch yourself thinking, "I can't do this," you pause and say, "I'm learning, I'm growing." When doubt screams, "You'll fail," you fire back, "Mistakes are part of the process." You won't just feel different, you'll act different. Because thoughts create feelings, feelings drive actions, actions build reality. This isn't wishful thinking, it's neuroscience. Your brain is plastic. It changes based on what you feed it. Repeat negativity, and you build highways of self-doubt. Repeat courage, and you forge new pathways of resilience. Athletes use this, CEOs use this, you can use this. So starting now, speak to yourself like someone you love, not with empty affirmations, but with power statements that land. "I can handle this. I've survived worse. I'm figuring it out." Your brain doesn't know the difference between real and repeated. It only knows what you tell it over and over. So tell it a better story, one where you're not trapped by your past, but fueled by your progress. For the next 3 days, commit to this. Interrupt the old script, rewrite the new one. When the familiar voice hisses, "You're not enough," shut it down with, "I am becoming." It'll feel awkward, do it anyway. Awkward is where growth lives. This is your wake-up call. That voice in your head, it's either your greatest ally or your silent saboteur. Choose your words like your life depends on them, because it does. The moment you change the way you speak to yourself, everything changes. Not in a year, not when you're ready. Your brain is listening. What will you say next? Let me tell you something that will change everything you think you know about yourself. Right now, as you're reading these words, there's a conversation happening inside your head, a relentless, never-ending dialogue that's shaping your reality in ways you can't even imagine. This isn't just background noise. This is the programming language of your life, the invisible script that determines whether you succeed or fail, whether you feel confident or afraid, whether you take action or stay stuck. From the moment you wake up to the moment you fall asleep, your mind is constantly narrating, analyzing, and judging every aspect of your existence. "I'm not good enough. I'll probably fail. Why even try?" These aren't just passing thoughts. They're commands being sent directly to your nervous system, shaping your emotions, your decisions, and ultimately, your destiny. And here's what's truly terrifying. Most people go through their entire lives without ever realizing this internal dialogue is happening, let alone that they have the power to change it. Your brain is the most sophisticated supercomputer on the planet, and your self-talk is the code it runs on. Every thought you think, every word you silently repeat to yourself, is a direct instruction to your subconscious mind. When you say, "I'm such an idiot," your brain doesn't pause to fact-check. It accepts it as absolute truth and adjusts your reality accordingly. Your posture slumps. Your confidence wavers. Your decisions become more cautious. All because of a sentence you told yourself in the privacy of your own mind. This isn't some woo-woo self-help concept. This is hard science. Neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to rewire itself, means that every thought you think physically alters your brain's structure. When you constantly tell yourself, "I can't do this," you're literally strengthening neural pathways of self-doubt and weakening pathways of confidence. Your reticular activating system, the brain's filtering mechanism, then scans the world for evidence to confirm these beliefs, making you blind to opportunities that don't match your negative self-image. But here's the life-changing truth. Just as negative self-talk can trap you in a prison of your own making, positive, intentional self-talk can set you free. Your brain doesn't care whether the thoughts you feed it are true or false, helpful or harmful. It simply obeys the commands you give it most frequently. This means you have the power to reprogram your mind, to overwrite those old limiting beliefs with new, empowering ones. And you don't need years of therapy to do it. You can start seeing dramatic changes in just 3 days. Imagine what would happen if, for the next 72 hours, you became the guardian of your mind. Every time you caught yourself thinking, "I'm not good enough," you interrupted it with, "I am growing and improving every day." When fear whispered, "You'll fail," you fired back with, "Failure is just feedback on my way to success." When doubt said, "Who do you think you are?" you answered, "I am someone who figures things out." How differently would you show up in your life? How much more would you attempt? How much more resilient would you become? The transformation begins with awareness. Most of our negative self-talk is so automatic, so deeply ingrained, that we don't even notice it's happening. It's like background music that's been playing so long we've stopped hearing it, but it's still affecting our mood, our energy, our behavior. For the first day of this 3-day mental rewiring, your job is simply to notice. Carry a notebook or use your phone to record every negative thought that pops into your head. "I'm so lazy. I'll never get this right. They're all judging me." Write them all down without judgment. Just observe. On day 2, we start the rewiring process. For every negative thought you identified, you're going to create a powerful antidote, not some fluffy affirmation that feels fake, but a truth-based, believable alternative. "I'm so lazy" becomes, "I'm learning to manage my energy more effectively." "I'll never get this right" transforms into, "Every expert was once a beginner." "They're all judging me" shifts to, "Most people are too busy thinking about themselves to judge me." The key is that these new statements must feel authentic, not like lies you're telling yourself. Now comes the game changer, repetition. Every time you catch yourself thinking the old limiting thought, you consciously replace it with the new one, out loud if possible, or at least in a strong, clear inner voice. At first, it will feel awkward. Your brain will resist. That's normal. You're literally breaking neural pathways that have been reinforced for years, maybe decades. But with each repetition, the new thought becomes slightly more automatic while the old one weakens. By day 3, something remarkable starts happening. You'll notice the negative thoughts coming less frequently. When they do appear, the new, empowering responses come more quickly. You might even catch yourself automatically thinking the positive version before the negative one fully forms. This is your brain rewiring in real time. And with this new mental software running, you'll start noticing changes in your behavior, more confidence, more willingness to take risks, more resilience when things don't go perfectly. This isn't about positive thinking or denying reality. It's about recognizing that much of what we consider reality is actually just our brain's interpretation based on the thoughts we've fed it over time. When you change those thoughts, you change that interpretation. And suddenly, the same world looks completely different. Opportunities you were blind to before become visible. Challenges that seemed insurmountable now appear manageable. People respond to you differently because you're carrying yourself differently. The most successful people in the world, whether athletes, entrepreneurs, or artists, understand this power of intentional self-talk. They don't wait until they feel confident to speak confidently. They speak confidently first, and the feelings follow. They don't achieve success and then develop a success mindset. They develop a success mindset first, and the achievements follow. This is the secret you've been missing. Transformation begins from the inside out, not the other way around. Your assignment, should you choose to accept it, is simple but profound. For the next 3 days, become hyper-aware of your inner dialogue. Interrupt every negative, limiting thought with a positive, empowering alternative. Say it out loud with conviction. Write it down. Repeat it until it sticks. Do this consistently for just 72 hours, and you'll be astonished at how your perspective shifts, how your energy changes, how your world begins to transform. This is your mind we're talking about, the control center of your entire existence. Why would you leave its programming to chance? Why would you allow outdated, negative scripts to keep running when you have the power to rewrite them? The conversation in your head never stops. The only question is, who's controlling it? You or your past? Starting today, you can take the wheel. From the instant you wake up in the morning until the moment you fall asleep at night, there's an ongoing conversation happening in your mind that most people never pay attention to. I'm not good enough. I'll probably fail. They're all judging me. These aren't harmless passing thoughts. They're powerful commands being sent directly to your subconscious, shaping your emotions, your behaviors, and your entire perception of reality. What's truly astonishing is that your brain accepts these statements as absolute truth without question. When you tell yourself, I'm terrible at this, your brain doesn't pause to evaluate whether it's accurate. It simply files it away as fact and adjusts your reality accordingly. Your posture changes. Your confidence wavers. Your willingness to take risks diminishes. All because of a sentence you told yourself in the privacy of your own mind. The science behind this is both fascinating and undeniable. Neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections, means that every thought you think physically alters the structure of your brain. When you repeatedly tell yourself, I can't do this, you're strengthening neural pathways of self-doubt and limitation. These pathways become like well-worn highways in your mind. The more traffic they get, the more you think these thoughts, the wider and more established they become. Meanwhile, the roads less traveled, the pathways of confidence, capability, and courage start to become overgrown from lack of use. Your reticular activating system, the brain's filtering mechanism, then scans your environment for evidence that confirms these established beliefs, making you blind to opportunities and possibilities that don't align with your negative self-perception. But here's where it gets truly revolutionary. This process works exactly the same way with positive, empowering thoughts. Your brain doesn't discriminate between positive and negative programming. It simply obeys the commands you give it most frequently. This means you have the power to consciously rewrite your mental operating system, to overwrite those old, limiting programs with new, empowering ones. When you start telling yourself, I'm capable of figuring this out, your brain begins looking for evidence to support that belief instead. When you repeat, I learn quickly and adapt easily, your neural pathways reorganize to make this your default setting. The changes start subtly at first. You might notice slightly more optimism, slightly less resistance to challenges, but over time, these new thought patterns become your automatic responses, fundamentally altering how you experience and interact with the world. The implications of this are staggering when you really grasp them. Your current reality, your level of success, your relationships, your self-image, is largely a reflection of the internal dialogue you've been running up until now. The good news? Since you're the one doing the talking, you have the power to change the conversation. This isn't about positive thinking or unrealistic affirmations. It's about recognizing that much of what we consider reality is actually just our brain's interpretation based on the thoughts we've been feeding it. When you change those thoughts, you change that interpretation, and suddenly the same world looks completely different. Challenges that seemed insurmountable now appear manageable. Opportunities you were blind to before become visible. People respond to you differently. What's most exciting is that this transformation doesn't require years of therapy or dramatic life changes. The brain is remarkably adaptable. It can begin rewiring itself in a matter of days when given clear, consistent new instructions. By becoming conscious of your self-talk and deliberately shaping it for just 72 hours, you can initiate changes that ripple through every area of your life. The key is consistency and repetition, like building any new skill. Developing empowering self-talk requires practice. At first, it may feel awkward or even untrue to say positive things about yourself, especially if you've spent years reinforcing negative patterns. But with each repetition, the new thoughts gain strength while the old ones weaken, until eventually your default mental setting shifts from self-doubt to self-assurance. This is why world-class performers in every field, from elite athletes to successful entrepreneurs, place such emphasis on controlling their internal dialogue. They understand that peak performance begins in the mind long before it manifests in results. They don't wait until they feel confident to speak confidently. They speak confidently first, and the feelings follow. They don't achieve success and then develop a success mindset. They develop a success mindset first, and the achievements follow. This is the critical insight most people miss. Transformation begins from the inside out, not the other way around. Your outer world will always reflect your inner reality, which is why changing your self-talk is the most powerful thing you can do to change your life. The process starts with awareness. Most of our negative self-talk is so automatic, we don't even notice it's happening. For one full day, simply observe your thoughts without judgment. Notice how often you criticize yourself, doubt yourself, or assume the worst. Then begin the rewiring process. For every negative thought, create a truthful but empowering alternative. I'm terrible at this becomes I'm improving with practice. I always mess up transforms into every mistake teaches me something valuable. The key is that these new statements must feel authentic. If they're too far from your current beliefs, your brain will reject them. Start where you are, but start. What makes this approach so powerful is that it's not about denying reality or pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing interpretations that serve you rather than limit you. Two people can experience the same setback. One says, "I knew I'd fail. I'm just not cut out for this," while the other says, "This didn't work out the way I hoped, but I learned what not to do next time." The first interpretation leads to giving up. The second leads to growth. Same situation, different self-talk, completely different outcomes. As you practice this new way of thinking, you'll begin noticing changes in unexpected places. You'll stand taller, speak more clearly, take risks you would have avoided before. People will respond to you differently because you'll be carrying yourself differently. Opportunities will appear that you might have missed before, not because they weren't there, but because your brain wasn't primed to see them. This is the true power of self-talk. It doesn't just change how you feel, it changes how you perceive and interact with the entire world around you. The most important thing to understand is that this isn't a one-time fix, but an ongoing practice. Just as physical fitness requires regular exercise, mental fitness requires consistent training. There will be days when old thought patterns try to reassert themselves, especially in times of stress or setback. This is normal. Those neural pathways still exist, even if they're no longer your default. The difference is that now you'll have the awareness to recognize them and the tools to redirect them. Over time, your mental resilience will grow to the point where challenges that once would have derailed you become mere bumps in the road. Ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the end of this journey, I want you to remember one undeniable truth. You are the author of your life story, and your self-talk is the pen. Every word you whisper to yourself, whether in doubt or in courage, shapes your reality. The science is clear, the evidence is undeniable. Change your inner dialogue, and you change your life. For too long, you may have allowed old scripts, written by fear, past failures, or other people's expectations, to dictate your path. But today, you've been given the key to rewrite them. In just 3 days of intentional self-talk, you can begin dismantling self-doubt and building unshakable confidence. You can reprogram your mind to see opportunities where you once saw obstacles, to find strength where you once thought were out of reach. This isn't just about thinking positively, it's about thinking powerfully. It's about recognizing that your mind is the most powerful tool you possess and you have the ability to wield it with precision. The greatest athletes, leaders, and visionaries didn't wait for success to speak confidently. They spoke confidently first and success followed. Now it's your turn. So as you step forward from this moment, I leave you with this challenge. For the next 72 hours, become the guardian of your mind. Interrupt every negative thought. Replace it with truth, with courage, with belief. Speak to yourself like someone you deeply respect, someone you're rooting for, someone destined for greatness, because you are. And when those 3 days are over, keep going. Make this your new way of thinking, your new way of being. The world doesn't change until you do. Thank you for allowing me to share this truth with you. Thank you for your courage to even consider changing the way you speak to yourself, because that's where all transformation begins. Now go out there and rewire, rebuild, and rise. The best version of you is waiting on the other side of this practice. You've got this. Good luck, though with this knowledge, you won't need luck, you just need to begin. Now go change your mind and watch how it changes your life.